Hi, today we are going to build our own ChatGPT without any code. OpenAI has provided a no-code platform where you can create your own ChatGPTs with your own personality and logo. You can also connect your own knowledge source as a file or even connect to an API. These ChatGPTs can then be made also publicly available to other users. We're gonna create a chef GPT for a restaurant where customers can ask questions about opening hours, ingredients of the food, and also even make orders for a pizza. All of that in just a few minutes. To create a custom ChatGPT, we have to go on the left bar here on the Explore button. And this will now open a list of pre-made ChatGPTs, and to create our own, we have to click on that little plus symbol here. Here we can type what we want, but we can otherwise go on Configure and do all of that on our own. That's also not too much work to do. So first we have to set a name. So I set it to Chef GPT. And then we have to provide a description. Here add a short description what this ChatGPT does. Now inside the description pad, we can tell the users what they can expect from our bot. So for example, here we've got a helpful bot that provides users information about our restaurant. In the instructions tab, we can now tell the bot how to behave. So for example, I used this. So it should only answer the questions related to the Italian restaurant, but decline everything else. Sorry, I cannot help with that. So this is a far more restricted version of the original ChatGPT. Here on conversation starters, we can provide the user some examples. So for example, order a medium size pizza pepperoni. And another one, when are your opening hours? So the user can see this as example, but also directly click on it. We can also provide a knowledge base for the bot. So let's say we want the user to be able to ask what are the opening hours of our restaurants. So that was of course not trained into the original model because that information does not anywhere exist in the internet. So we have to provide that knowledge on ourselves. So we can easily upload files with that kind of information. I stored that in some example here, knowledgebase.txt. I will show you that. So you can see this is some Q&A text. When are the opening hours of the pizza place that never closes? So 25 hours a day, 8 days a week. So some kind of, let's say, funny answer. And we can just upload that. And this will now be integrated in our ChatGPT. Additionally, we can also provide our bot with some capabilities. So we can enable or disable web browsing, image generation, and also the code interpreter. So I would normally disable everything for this bot, but I will keep it toggled on. So web browsing and DALL-E image generation is fine for our prototype. Okay, then comes the last part, which is actions. And actions are the most technical part, and you need some knowledge about REST APIs to work with that. So I created a REST API with Fast API. That's a very basic REST API. You can place an order, you can get an order ID, you can see all orders, and you can also delete an order by providing the order ID. So that's the very simple API. After coding my API, I deployed it to Dataspace. I think that's the fastest and easiest way to deploy your REST API in the internet. And as you can see, it runs on HTTPS. This is what ChatGPT requires. On localhost over HTTP, it will not work. So you have to run it somewhere in the internet. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I have a Fast API crash course and also a video about deployment on Dataspace. You can, of course, watch that before creating your own API. Okay, now we've got our API, but what ChatGPT actually requires is not the API code, but a technical description. So there exists a standard for this, which is an OpenAPI specification. This is a JSON file, and as you can see, here's a lot of description in it. So we can see our endpoints, our URL for our API, and also a description what you can do with it. This is how ChatGPT learns what it can actually do with the API. So we have to copy the content of that file. And then let's go to our actions button here. And then we add some actions. Here we have to paste our OpenAPI schema. And here we can see this are our endpoints: post for order, get, delete, and again, a get method. We can also add authentication, but in this API, we don't have authentication. To make our ChatGPT publicly available, we also would have to create a privacy endpoint in our API. So currently we don't have that. So we can only publish it to ourselves, so we can test it, but no other users can. So to make that possible, we have to provide that privacy endpoint in our API. So now let's publish it only to us. So we confirm that. So okay, now we published our ChatGPT or our Chef GPT, but we don't have an image yet. So we can of course also edit bots we already published. Here we can see now we've got Chef GPT. Let's go to edit and go again to configure. And here we can now also add a photo. So we can upload a photo or we can use DALL-E 3 to create one. So let's try that and see what we get from there. Okay, I think that photo is actually wonderful for our bot. We can see this was actually extracted from our name and also from the description, and DALL-E 3 uses that to create a nice prompt, and I think the image fits perfect for our restaurant. And now we can just click on update and try it out. So we can publish it again. And now let's view our custom bot. Okay, as you can see, it also created some more information. So that's not really an issue, but we of course can also change that again. So if we create the image, ChatGPT will make a larger description or larger instruction, but as you can see, it does not change it. I already said I don't want to answer the bot questions not related to the restaurant, so this is kept here, but there are some more additional information. I think this is fine, so we can now go back and actually try it out. So let's first ask, how is the weather today? So it normally should decline that. Okay, perfect, that works. Okay, so now let's ask, what are your opening hours? This is the information we provide in the TXT file. So that should be retrieved from the text file. Here we can see open 25 hours a day, 25 hours a day and 8 days per week. So this was extracted from our information. So now let's try the API. So I want to order a pizza pepperoni. So now it should be smart enough here. So here we can see that it wants to send some information to this endpoint. And here we can even see the request body it wants to send if we click here. So type is pepperoni and size is medium. So this is fine for our API. So let's allow that. And now it talks to the API. And as a response, we get that we ordered the pizza, price $8, size medium, and this is our order ID. So let's order another pizza. Pepperoni, size large this time. So let's try that. And then we want to get all orders. Let's try that. Okay, let's press enter. And now we can test our other endpoint. Here we can also select always allow. I think this is just for get endpoints. Okay, let's maybe retry that. I could see in the database was a little error. So it talks again to the API. And now we can see we've got errors. Yeah, the orders are actually not matching because there was a little mistake in the database. But in general, that works fine. Great, that worked. So that was kind of easy, wasn't it? So if you don't want to use actions, you don't even need any technical or coding skills, only if you want to add an API. So that's it. Thank you for watching. See you. Bye bye.